Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are actress Susan Park and author Patti Hawn, who talks about her family, her sister Goldie Hawn, her own life in the memoir Good Girls Don't. But first we're going to talk to actress Susan Park, who was born in Los Angeles, went to Korea for a few years, then came back to enjoy the delights of Koreatown in Los Angeles. She earned a Bachelor of Arts at the Drama Center in London, studied Shakespeare at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, and you've seen her on TV in, say, The Unusual, CSI, and some other shows, on independent films, and on the stage. So why did you decide to be an actress?
I don't know if it was a decision that I made. I can tell you that it's something that I've always wanted to do, even as a little girl.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Well, was your family encouraging?
No, they weren't, because my parents are very strict immigrant Korean parents, and so to them, safety and like happiness equals, you know,
profession.
Exactly, and being a doctor or a lawyer and not having to worry, something like a straight road.
Not a writer, not an actress, not a singer.
Not any type of artist whatsoever. Yeah.
And are they professionals?
They are professionals as
in their work?
Yeah, they're retired right now, but they came over and they work from the bottom up, you know, and they worked hard to get where they are.
And so they wanted you to be something
safe.
That they could be proud of.
Yeah. Something that would bring home a steady paycheck for sure at the end of the month. Yeah.
Safe is a good word.
Yeah.
Why did you go to London then?
So after I went to a performing arts high school, and that's what I knew I wanted to do. And
where was performing arts high school? Here?
Yeah, there's a magnet program for Van Nuys High School, and they have medical magnet, math and science, and performing arts.
Oh.
And I went to the performing arts. And afterwards, my mom really wanted me to go study something safe.
Safe.
Yeah.
But wait, when you were in professional school, did you have to audition to get in?
No.
Oh, so you could just go to your choice, what you wanted. Okay.
Yeah.
So back to safe.
Yeah. And so I bounced around trying to study this and that, and finally my mom just said, we don't care what you do, just get a degree.
Be happy.
Yeah, be happy. And so I auditioned for I went to go study at RADA for a little bit. I fell in love with London, and I wanted to get as far away from here as possible, just because when else would I be able to live in London, you know?
But that was great that you found a school where you could go and get a degree.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also study Shakespeare, which you, I guess you loved it. Did you love it? Was it easier there?
It was, I think, more about the culture. They have amazing theater there, and they're so student-friendly, so you can go at the last minute and get standing room tickets for £8 and see amazing theater. Even Fringe theater is really great there.
Know.
Yeah.
And they have that afternoon theater, like lunch theaters in different places where you can go for an hour, take your lunch, and see a performance.
Oh,
have you ever done that?
No, I've never seen that.
Yeah, those were great too. I did that a lot when I was in London. But you were alone. You went alone.
Yeah, I did. But do you know what? The good thing about, because it was a conservatory where we had school 12 hours a day and rehearsals on weekends, I kind of had built-in friends.
You mean at the Drama Center?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah,
it was.
Yeah.
It was totally dedicated to acting?
Yeah, acting and a small directing program, yeah.
Then how could you, and they gave a degree that you would,
Yeah.
And whereabouts in London is that?
They moved locations at first. For the first like 40 years, they had it in this small, abandoned like church. It was pretty cool. On Prince of Wales Road, like in Chalk Farm area, and then they moved it more centrally to around Farringdon.
Did you get to go the old one or the new one?
I was half and half, so
Were
that was
you?
really cool. Yeah, they changed it right in the middle of my. Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
There.
And then instead of coming back to Los Angeles, you still stayed far away. You went to New York for a while.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to check it out there, and it turns out that it's a good thing that I love New York. It's just, I think it's time for me to be in Los Angeles at the moment.
You couldn't make a life there?
I could if I set my heart on it, but I think just weighing the options, it was better for me to be here.
Could you have made a life in London?
Do you know what? I had a student visa, so I could have stayed, but I couldn't have worked, which was the main thing. That's why I went to school. Yeah.
Could you go back? I mean, would you like to go back and work there?
I would love.
Oh, she would.
To go
Everyone
back.
watching, take her back to London. And so when you came back from what did you do in New York?
Same thing, audition, try to find work, and I started taking classes for improv there, which I fell in love with.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Was the improv there? The classes, were they there?
Yeah. They have classes here and there, and it's so much fun.
Did it help you in your acting?
Absolutely, yeah, because it's such a difference going from one method to just, it's a different art form in and of itself, and there are people who do it who are so amazing at it.
But do you have to think
Brilliant.
on your feet?
Yeah.
That's the thing?
Yeah. And there are different types of improv. There's short form and long form and stuff like that. But I've seen some people do it who are so amazing.
And did you learn a lot that helped you in your one-person show, Diaries of a K-Town Dive?
Yeah.
You learned a lot in those stand-up improv classes. Could you apply those techniques to your one-woman show?
Sure, yeah. The improv classes, I think the most important thing I found was just to have guts and just to let go and have fun with anything that's being thrown at you.
And then, but on stage in Diaries of a K-Town Dive, which is your one-person show, you can't have so much fun because it's all scripted.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I can't improvise by myself. Yeah, definitely. And I've been working on it for over a year, so...
Did you write it alone?
I did. I got a lot of help and feedback from my director when she's heard me write the first drafts of the characters.
I see. So
and stuff.
you worked with the director all the way along.
Yeah.
But the character is you?
There are 5 different characters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about those.
And the main character, I guess, would be Sylvie, who is stories taken from my life. And she sort of bookends it, and she's the one that breaks the fourth wall and talks to the audience and stuff.
I see.
And then sandwiched in between are 4 different characters who all talk to her throughout the whole show.
And does it take place in one place? And tell us about that.
It's based on a place that I used to work at in Koreatown, but it's not, everybody in there isn't Korean, it's just a real mix of people. And the one thing that I loved about working in the service industry is that I got to interact with all of these different people who I never would normally meet, you know?
Did you draw on them as characters?
Yeah, and yeah, you get to know them because they're regulars and they come back and they tell you stories about their life, and you get to know them by default just by working there.
How did you actually write it? I mean, did you just sit down at a computer, or did you take each person separately, or did you interact them as you were writing?
I took each person separately, and a lot of these characters have been floating around in my head for years, and I just made the decision to write it. And so it was very loose. I would write comments, or I would write the way they looked, or gather certain things. And then for the most part, I would just start writing and cut and write and cut and write.
You talked about Barbara Tarbuck. You didn't call her by name, but that's your director.
Yeah,
And you've known her for many years.
I've known her for about 10 years now.
And how did that happen?
I took an acting class at UCLA Extension. This was before I went to school in London and stuff like that.
Oh.
And we just stayed in touch and became friends. And she really encouraged me to start writing because I would send her little snippets over the years. And,
Oh, I see.
yeah.
Because Barbara Tarbuck doesn't sound like she's from Koreatown, that she knows what goes on there.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. She's from Michigan, actually.
So what are the good and the bad parts of Koreatown?
I used to hang out there a lot when I was a teenager.
Where is there?
In Koreatown. So I guess it's around Wilshire from east of Highland
Yeah.
to maybe Vermont,
Mm-hmm.
and then from Melrose to Pico.
Pico,
Yeah,
Pico, I'd
yeah.
say. So it's a big area.
It is, yeah. It's a lot bigger than Chinatown and J-Town. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was telling you earlier, I thought it was funny because we drive through there, we know the area, we never called it K-Town.
That's funny, yeah. I guess the Koreans call it K-Town. Yeah.
So when on the in your show, you talk about a mother relationship.
Mm-hmm.
What is that relationship?
It's Sylvie's relationship with her mother. And it's her birthday that day, and she gets a letter from her mother whom she hasn't spoken to in 7 years.
Ooh.
And so, yeah, it's just discovering that because it's such an intimate relationship, yet things can...
And what
get
about,
so.
I noticed a vial of urine. How does that come into it?
Oh, yeah. So for the second character, Jenny, she's desperately in love with her ex-boyfriend, and she is trying to get him back, and she has a vial of urine that she casts a spell on.
Oh, she uses it to cast a spell. Is that a true thing?
No.
Do people use that, though?
Possibly.
Oh, you just made it up.
Yeah.
And then what about the drunken high school teacher?
Oh yeah, that's Nicolette, and she comes in and she's super drunk, and you get to find out why she got to this how she got to this point, and why. And she's drunk and she just lets it all out.
So you have to do all that.
Yeah.
And Barbara, your director, is here now, Tarbuck?
Yeah.
And does she work here?
Yeah. She works constantly. Yeah, she's done loads of theater on Broadway, off Broadway, like years and years. Yeah. So.
And why would somebody do a one-person play?
I don't know about everybody else, but for me, I missed theater, and I missed performing in front of an audience, and I really just wanted to do it for myself, and I don't know.
Can you see it going anywhere else?
Hopefully, yeah. I would love for it to, yeah.
Could somebody else play the roles? Could you be the author and then have someone else do it?
Do you know what? I haven't even thought about that. That's a good question. I don't know. That would be funny, yeah. I guess because it's such a personal thing that I specifically wrote it for myself, but yeah.
Tell us where it is.
It's playing at the Elephant Stages, and we're doing previews tomorrow.
The Elephant Stage is, there's several little theaters, right on Santa Monica, is it? Yeah, it's great.
There's 3 stages. I think that there's the main stage, the 99-seater, and then there's a 65-seater, and then there's a smaller one.
And are you in the small one?
I'm in the middle one.
In the middle one.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And so you have to move all over the stage.
Yeah.
You do a lot of back and forth. Do you change your costumes a lot?
I do, for each character, yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you came and talked to us, Susan.
Thank you, yeah.
Thank you
My
very
pleasure.
much.
Thank you.
Don't go away. We'll be right back with author Patti Hawn. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with author, film publicist, Patti Hawn, who's made humanitarian trips to foreign countries. She grew up in Maryland, where her father was really an established musician and who worked all over the East Coast. Do you think that's how you got into showbiz?
Oh, I don't think so. Not through my dad.
It was kind of showbizy, though, wasn't it?
Well, he was a musician.
Yeah.
Show business, not so much. There was a difference, I think.
Oh, you thought there was, huh? It wasn't the
I don't
music,
know.
the tie-in.
He was a very, very, very talented child prodigy, actually, a violinist.
I know. When you write about him in your book, and you say that his violin could bring tears to your eyes?
And it did often. He was a beautiful, beautiful
Is that right?
violinist, absolutely. And he played the sax and clarinet, and he played the businessman's bounce, as he called it.
But you weren't musical? Or are you musical?
I think I am a bit, but I never pursued it, actually.
Your sister?
I pursued boys.
Yeah, that's right. Is your sister musical?
Oh, yeah, Goldie is. She sings, and she started out her career as a dancer, actually. So.
Oh, I see. So that kind of follows that part of the family, the
I
music
think so.
part.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how did you get started being a film publicist?
Well, obviously it was through my sister. I had little to do with the entertainment industry. I think I was a self-avowed hippie, actually, for many years. And
Did you come out here to do it?
to be a hippie or to
No,
be a
both.
film
Oh,
publicist?
let's say both. Let's do both.
No, actually, what brought me to California was, let's see, a divorce.
Oh.
B, I had a wonderful sister who told me this is where I should be, and I listened.
But she was your younger sister, right?
Correct. She often took the part of the older sister in those years.
Well, the hippie roamed, right?
Correct. And she.
Oh, so that's how you came out?
I was a social worker, and that's what brought me out. I got a job as directing a social service program in Los Angeles, and that was my first career. I went into the entertainment industry much later.
Which was film publicity.
Correct.
And tell me what you did, because I said, did you help open premieres and different things like that as being a publicist for an independent film companies, but you said no.
No, I don't do that. What I do is quite specific in the industry, and I'm called a unit publicist, and that means that I go out on the film while it's being produced only, meaning that while it's in production, depending upon where it is being shot, they always have a publicist on the set. And we are responsible for coordinating all the publicity that occurs during that time. So I'm interviewing actors and filmmakers sometimes. Other times I am having an entertainment show come out and shoot B-roll and do whatever they need to do. I'm meeting journalists.
So you're working all day long. You're
Often.
working all day long while they're acting, while they're in production?
The challenge. Yes.
Is that right?
Absolutely, it is the challenge because they really don't want us there a lot.
Oh, they don't want
so
you
we're
around.
always going under the wire to say, we're here and let's get some of this and so you're wearing a few hats and then you answer to the studio and to the production company.
And do you have to turn in when do you turn in the finished work?
At the end of production is where I do my writing and I create the publicity. I create a press kit, actually, a 30-page press kit that is given to the studio. So therein comes the writing,
Because I was saying, this book, Good Girls Don't, is so well written, and then I had to stop and remember that you were a writer. Because when I go to so many of these screenings and junkets, we get notes.
Yeah,
and
that's what I write.
I always think the PR agency has written the notes. But the unit publicist...
The unit publicist, it begins the process there. And if it's good, they'll keep it. And if it's want to tweak it or whatever, then it goes to the writer at the studio. And then a lot of people have approvals, of course, in this industry over everything.
So it takes a long time to get those notes
done.
So
it does. It does.
Because you have bios of the director, bios of the actors, bios of the musicians, the producers.
Everyone. Absolutely,
Do you
everyone.
start doing all that?
Yes, that's what begins with my participation in the beginning of the shoot. And you're kind of nobody. You're always on a movie and saying, now exactly what do you do? Because we seem like we're kind of standing around a little bit. But there's stories.
But you're thinking and picking up things all the time.
Well, there's a lot of, every movie is quite different, one from the other, obviously, and then you're shooting in bizarre places. And,
Tell me what movies that you worked on. You're not doing that now, are you, or are you?
Oh no, I still work.
Oh, you still are doing that?
I still work on movies on occasion. I did Bride Wars, was the last movie I did with my niece, Kate Hudson. And I worked on, let's see, well, I began earlier with Glory, the movie Glory with Denzel Washington. Was nominated for an Oscar. I did Ghost with Patrick Swayze. It was a lovely experience. And most recently, I did How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. And I've done about 35 films at least.
If it's on location, you have to go on location, just like the actors? I mean, if it's out of town, you go out of town?
I go and live with the crew wherever we are. I'm part of the crew of a movie.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm there for the entire time, usually a couple weeks beforehand to set things up. And yeah.
Oh, and then each time you get to a new city, you have to learn new people that you want to bring on the set, I guess.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it kind of, it's
new
a lot
journalists.
of the seat of the pants. It's not a lot of planning that goes on with my job. It's always out in the trenches and being,
So if you're in Philadelphia and you don't know the journalists there or the show business people, you'll have to seek them out to bring them for a visit
correct,
or something?
you pitch them as you would anywhere else, and you work with the local press because they're always quite interested when movies come in. And sometimes, you have to be, and sometimes you got to be the bad guy and say no a lot. Unfortunately, because they don't want a lot of intrusion rather when they're on a set. So there's a lot of different things that we do.
You said you worked with your niece, Kate Hudson. Is it intimidating for her or for you having a family member on the set?
Oh, certainly not for Katie. I think it's a comfort. I hope for her to know that, we're family.
And she has that.
Not for me.
She has that grandfather's musical thing. Is she musical?
Well, she did. My gosh, she did an amazing musical, 9, a couple of years ago.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, so now we've talked about your family, we've talked about what you've done. Let's talk about your memoir. I love memoirs. That's my thing to read. So how did it come about?
Well, it came about because the premise of my book is about giving up a child for adoption at an age and a time when it was, first of all, getting pregnant before you were married was pretty taboo when I was 16.
And so that's the title, Good Girls Don't.
Good Girls Don't.
And what else do good girls don't do?
Well, they don't get pregnant.
Yeah.
They don't have sex before marriage in those days.
You have this whole...
And it's all written there. And so what created the idea, or what actually the desire, the need almost to write this book, was when I found my son after almost 40 years, and I decided to seek him out, and it took a little bit of doing, but I did just find him. And after we met, there were a lot of roadblocks along the way, obviously, but I did meet him, and I fell in love. And I thought, what could I do to give him back something? And I wrote him a book.
Was it?
And that's what I gave
Was
him.
it haunting for you?
Oh, yes.
All those 40 years, were you haunted?
No, I can't say that I was, but what the book, I hope, speaks to is the decisions that we as women often make from early traumas that occur in our lives, such as this. To give a child up for adoption is sort of cutting yourself off sometime at the supreme creative endeavor that you may have. That's my head on it anyway. And although it was a good thing and it was positive, there's parts of it that you need to look at. I didn't look at them too much as I grew up, but I knew that the decisions that I made were based on that experience often.
But your decision was made because of your parents.
Sure.
Your mother was always telling you, good girls don't do this. And that was the 50s, wasn't it?
Yes, it was the late 50s.
And what amazed me, did you keep a diary?
No, I did not during that time. It was up here.
I know, but it is so precise and so knowledgeable. I mean, or lets us know so much, down to the music that was playing on the radio, and when you were driving in a certain car.
I know.
And how did you remember all that?
It's so weird. I don't know.
How did you start? Did you just start writing?
I wrote a letter to my son before I met him. I didn't know anything except that he was a boy. And I wrote this letter in the event that maybe someday he'd be looking for me. And in fact, I gave it to the adoption agency.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. Where do you leave a letter like that?
Yeah, I did.
And where was that city?
In Silver Spring, Maryland.
Oh, it was in Maryland.
Yeah.
So the adoption
Where I'm
took place there. Okay.
It all took place there, and the irony was that when I met him, that many years later, it was at the same place, the same adoption agency, the Jewish Social Service Office or something, and that's where I actually met him. So there were so many ironies and so many, amazing. It was a lot of synchronicity involved in this experience.
When you went through this process of writing, what did you think to leave in, and what did you decide to take out? And did your family complain about this? I mean, there's like so much going on. You have your own sons.
My family's fabulous.
You have a husband and children.
I do. I have 2 grown sons, and I have 4 grandchildren with my husband's 2, and I have a
So
sister.
there's a
I have
lot
a big family.
There's a lot of people
They're
involved.
so into this. They love it. They've been terrific.
Oh, because
Yeah.
there's so many emotions involved in it. Even
Yes.
from your sister writing about it, and your mother, and and the family life that you had.
Right.
Because it's
right.
not only exposing your feelings, but it's exposing, say, Goldie Hawn,
Yeah.
who was an actress.
Right.
I mean, not that it's exposing bad.
No.
But how do you decide? How do they go along with you? It's okay?
I didn't ask.
There you are.
I really didn't ask.
And how did they feel?
Everybody's cool. Everybody's very, very excited about this book. My family is having a blast with it, actually, because they're finding themselves in it. And I have a big extended family besides my celebrity family, and they're very much part of this.
Were they a part? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm saying everybody was.
Everybody got a little share of it.
They all.
And and then of
And the
course
son, how did the son feel?
the one that when I found David, I was told that he and this is revealing a little bit about this book, but I think I shall do this today. I was told by the adoption agency that he was a crack addict and that he suffered from schizophrenia.
I read that, yes.
And maybe I needed to back off if I didn't want to pursue it any further.
For your own good or for his good? You know, they tell you to back off.
I
Are
think
they
for my
thinking
good, I
for you?
suspect.
Yeah.
I suspect I didn't give it too much credibility because obviously I didn't do that. I would never think of opening up a door and then closing it. That
Yeah.
didn't make sense to me. So when I met him, finally sat down and met him, which I write about in the book, I was blown away by his integrity, his goodness, his humor. The crack addiction was way wrong. There was not that. They were misinformed about all of that, unfortunately, but that's okay because we quickly got that one finished. He does have it's hard to tell anymore because he's been on antipsychotic drugs for many years now. And whether or not that was an umbrella kind of a diagnosis, I don't know. And it doesn't matter anymore. But he has issues with that, yeah.
But you say he had such, all the way you describe him,
Yes.
is really a tribute to the people who brought him up.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you address that as well.
I hope so. That was my goal. I can only thank this woman.
I love it because you always refer to your mother, which
Yeah.
is great, and you've come in as a friend.
Oh, absolutely. I'm very clear on the boundaries that are established right away.
Yeah.
Very important.
Because I think it's hard for him,
Right.
for the mother, for
Right.
the
Right.
adopting family.
Yes, she was very supportive, apparently, of my finding him, and she was very, I got to meet her once, and that's never been a problem. And we've just forged a wonderful friendship relationship, and I'm thrilled that I made this decision. I don't know the decisions for everyone. For me, it was important. And the book really chronicles many of as I say, the decisions in my life that were made where men are concerned, where my own children were concerned, my children I raised were concerned, and everything I did often came out of that experience, as we do in life.
Did you feel it was a positive experience? I don't know how positive it is giving a child away, but giving a child away that you know is well taken care of and that everything was good.
Absolutely. I'm pro all of that. I mean, absolutely. I think that that was a good thing to do.
Yeah.
I was a child. Children raising children is not a good thing.
No, that's
clearly.
a very smart way to look at
Oh,
it.
absolutely. It wasn't about any judgments on whatever choices
On
are
any-
about.
I see.
Absolutely
I
none.
see.
Whichever way you want to go. I'm not even going there, but it's
that's-
an experience of one woman's,
Life and what you
Yes.
do. And that's why I think it was so great and so I hate to use the word brave because you don't act like it was any kind of bravery involved in it, but it was a terrific thing for us to share.
Oh,
and I
I'm
thank you. And I think just before we leave, there was this very cute story that you wrote. Just tell us a little bit about it, Goldie's wedding, because I love the way, just tell us that day.
I wrote about going back in 1976 for my sister's wedding after I had moved to California. And after I had many years gone through this, the idea of not being a good girl because I'd gotten pregnant. And what I was trying to do was show the state of the world and where we had come from in those many years. Because Goldie had her child when she was pregnant, but it was celebrated.
And when she was getting married.
She was getting married. She was getting married and she was 7 months pregnant. It's well chronicled everywhere. And it was like everybody was clapping. I'm thinking, wow, we've come a long way.
I thought that was great. Also, I thought it was so beautiful. Like you're saying, we're sitting here, the rabbi's here, the priest is
Oh,
here.
we had everybody. Right. Right. Well, that's
and
my
she's
family.
walking down the aisle with the clinging gown.
Yes, exactly. We got a
So there were a lot
wonderful
of
time with that.
really good times in the book. And I thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joan.
Thank you for being with us.
having me.
And keep writing, JAQUINN1 at AOL.com and 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles, 90017. We'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles. And you'll find out where to get the book, Good Girls Don't.